Well, the Red Cross says the capital of Ethiopia's northern Tigray region is struggling with shortages of food and medical supplies. That's a day after Ethiopia's prime minister declared victory in a military campaign against Tigrayan fighters. Wounded fighters have been inundating hospitals in the regional capital, Mekele.
Ethiopian troops had been closing in on Tigray's regional capital since forces there ignored an ultimatum to surrender on Wednesday. They say they've seized control of all key installations, including the airport, and have freed thousands of troops allegedly being held hostage by Tigrayan forces. The Ethiopian army says its main aim now is to track down any last holdouts. After fully controlling Mekele city, our army is hunting and going after and searching for the elements opposed to peace that are hiding in holes and pits. But despite the Ethiopian army's declaration of victory, Tigrayan forces say the conflict is not yet over. They told Reuters news agency that they would continue their fight from areas not yet under government control. Some analysts believe they could also be planning to conduct a guerrilla war from the mountains. The fate of civilians is also causing concern. Tens of thousands have fled to neighbouring Sudan.
They are very uncomfortable being in exile. Many of them, as I've said many times already, have left behind everything, relatives, their work. Most of them are farmers, and it is the harvest time and they cannot do it, so a major source of livelihood is lost.
Another source of anguish for many refugees is the lack of information about what is happening to their loved ones back home, because the government has cut internet and phone links to the region. Aid agencies are also urging the authorities to open a humanitarian corridor to allow them to help people on the ground.
Well, for more, we can now go to Addis Ababa and the Ethiopian Minister in charge of democratization, Zadik Abreha. Welcome, Minister. Let's talk about the current situation in the country. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has said the fighting is over, but Tigrayan forces claiming it's not yet finished. Is the region entirely in the government's control?
It is in our control. You know, it is normal. Like when Saddam Hussein's Iraq was under the control of America, U.S. forces. Its spokesperson used to say we are in control until they take up the whole the capital city. So this is the same propaganda. We are in control of the whole Tigray region. Their last holdout was Mekele. Now we are in control of each and every area of Mekele. I want to set us at one wrong thing straight, by the way. We are not the one who cut the telecom connectivity in Tigray. It is the TPLF that cut the telecom connectivity with a view to keep the Tigrayan people incommunicado from the rest of the world, so that they will continue to be fed from the false TPLF propaganda. Now we are working with experts to reconnect the telecom connectivity, and in some places it has already been restored.
Now, it is, of course, difficult for independent observers to verify these reports because access to Tigray has been tightly controlled since the start of the conflict. When will media be allowed to access the Tigray region again?
It is not us blocking the access. It is the situation. There was an active military operation that would have endangered the lives of journalists. At the same time, the telecom connectivity has been cut, have been destroyed by the TPLF. Road networks have been destroyed, airports are destroyed. We are working to rebuild that. Without these facilities, independent journalists cannot go and access information. We have nothing to hide. At the heart of the reform we introduced 3 years down the line is transparency, openness. This government is an open government. It is a situation that is forbidding us from allowing journalists to access. Otherwise, we have nothing to hide.
Of course, as this happens, food and medical supplies are running low, and alarm is growing over a humanitarian crisis. How are you going to ensure delivery of badly needed supplies?
Ethiopia is the third largest host, the third largest of refugees in the world. We know how to deal with this. We are now supplying to the region a great deal of food and other resources. We are working with UN agencies to supply those in need of food. So, and pretty much soon we'll also open a humanitarian corridor. With all these efforts, we believe we'll be able to help out our citizens who are in dire need of food.
Now, I want to talk about that humanitarian corridor that you've proposed. You say it's coming soon, but how soon is soon?
As soon as we are able to repair those networks or those bridges that are already destroyed. We are working day in, day out, trying to rebuild the resource, the connectivity that has been destroyed. Once that thing is in place, we'll allow it. Already there is a humanitarian access. Our relevant ministry is working with UN agencies to supply food to those in need. And we can elevate this to the humanitarian corridor pretty much soon. It is a situation that is stopping us from doing so. We don't want our people to suffer. We are doing everything we can. We are using a national food storage to supply our people with food, with everything we can. Our community is mobilized. The whole Ethiopian people are mobilized towards helping their beloved ones, their counterparts in their people in Tigray. Everyone in the nation is working towards helping them out.
Well, the Prime Minister has rejected dialogue with the Tigray People's Liberation Front leaders. So how are you going to broker an end to this conflict without sitting down at the table together?
The conflict is already ended. The Tigrayan people have said no to follow the TPLF. The TPLF is now reduced to less than 100 people, the top echelon of the TPLF. The Tigrayan people have embraced the rule of law operation. Whenever our military personnel made their way to one of the Tigray cities, they were welcoming them. They were coming in mass, chanting, saying that they don't want TPLF anymore. So TPLF, with whom are we going to negotiate? TPLF is defeated militarily. It no longer has its people by its side. So there is no negotiation. This is about making them accountable to what they have been doing. Now, or we are left to...
Minister Zadig Abraha, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for coming on DW News.
Thank you.
And meanwhile, the fighting in Tigray has sent tens of thousands of refugees streaming into neighboring Sudan, seeking a safe haven. According to the UN, almost half of them are children. DW's Maria Müller filed this report from a camp just inside the Sudanese border.
Eyob likes to sing songs he learned growing up in Tigray. He misses playing with his friends, and especially with his older brothers. I miss them all. I want to go back home because I want to play with my brothers. I miss my friends and my brothers. It's been 3 weeks since Eyob last saw his family. His mother had brought him to his teacher's doorstep when the bombs started falling on their hometown in Humera. She said she had to search for her 2 older sons, as Sefu Iyasu recalls. Without a second thought, she took him and ran. We jumped over dead bodies. Our neighbors were dead, but we couldn't bury them, so we just kept running. Eyob saw a lot of things a 7-year-old shouldn't see, says Asefo Iyasu. She's close friend of his mother and has known him for years. He trusts her. Many other children who fled Tigray were not so lucky. The UN estimates almost half the 40,000 refugees from the region are children. It's not clear how many of them arrived in Sudan on their own, but the health ministry is currently registering all these as especially vulnerable. We face multiple problems. First, an important one, we have to find out whether the family came to Sudan or not. If the family was killed, we need to explain that to the child. After that, we look for a solution. Asefo Iyasu hopes that she will never have to explain that to Eyob. She believes his parents are alive. But with no phone and a communication blackout in Tigray, she can't reach anyone in their hometown. If God lets me live long enough, and if there's peace, I'll take the boy back to his mother. Now I'm a refugee, but I will do whatever I can for this boy. He's like my own son. Life at the camp is hard. Ayob and Assefu are still wearing the same clothes as when they left home. Often they have to try 3 or 4 pumps to get water. But still, sometimes Assefu manages to get Ayob something special. I love her because she takes care of me. She buys me biscuits, fruits and candies. I really love you.